I'm Marty Cohn, and this is BCTV's Meet the Candidates 2020, sponsored in part by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. This series affords you an opportunity to hear from folks running for elected office. Today, our guest is Pamela Smith, an independent candidate for Vermont Secretary of State. Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's delve right in. First question that I have is, why are you seeking the office of Vermont Secretary of State?
I'm seeking the office of Vermont Secretary of State because it has an immense role in the health and wealth of Vermonters. I was very surprised to see in the primary election, if even shocked, that neither the Democratic or Republican races were contested. It's the office that's responsible for the integrity of elections, and it's an important guardian of democracy. The incumbent states that the layers of security, trusted election officials, and chains of command are what ensure election integrity. These are necessary components and have been developed as a result of lessons from the past. But what is not considered in the current system is the citizens' role. The citizens know who they voted for. Their knowledge of the accuracy of the results is an important factor, which could really help in deciding whether or not errors have occurred. In this campaign, I'm proposing a system that allows the candidate to confirm that their votes were cast just as they'd intended. Voters knowing that they will have an opportunity to confirm the results could lead to a greater candidate pool and more voter turnout. Also, in terms of regulation, the professional regulation role of the office, I believe that regulation is an indispensable government tool. Government is funded by citizens for citizens. There may be times when a citizen's position in a business transaction becomes too undervalued. They may need some assistance from their government. If the standards used by two parties in a transaction, in this case, the professional service provider and the citizen, if those standards have diverged greatly, the role of the regulator may be able to help to bring the two sets of standards closer to harmony. So I would like to see a more visible emphasis on this aspect of the office presented to the populace. And these are the two biggest reasons I am seeking the office of Secretary of State.
Thank you. So what sets you apart from the other candidates seeking the office?
I would say that the two biggest things that set me apart from the other candidates seeking the office are, one, my studies in information technology, and two, the fact that I have no significant affiliations with any groups or movements. I've studied many subjects at UVM over the years. Many of these courses covered a variety of topics in management and administration, and 9 of them were in the field of information technology in different topics like web page design, database management, and security. I've also worked in tech support for the last 14 years, and in this position, I have had to continually discover more and more about the field in order to fulfill my role. I'm the only candidate running for the office of Secretary of State who could contribute well to a conversation on the information technology needs of the office. And regarding not having any significant affiliations with any groups or movements, Jim Condos came to state government after many years in local government. I would say from what I've seen that his relationship with the local government sector is too comfortable, too friendly, too apologetic. He seems to think that the municipal assistance role of the office requires relatively frequent meetings for education purposes. I would like to see the website serve the grand majority of the municipal assistance needs of local government by making it as clear, up to date, and easy to use as possible. Instead, I would see my relationship with local officials as one that is more parallel unless otherwise required. They're two sectors that sort of would serve as checks on each other. So, and the other two candidates, Chris Erickson is running as a progressive in Vermont, PBS's 2016 Democratic candidate for governor debate. In a question about to each candidate about what they would do about the budget, her only real point was that the National Alliance for Right to Life wants to focus on adoption instead of abortion. And then on H. Brooke Page, who's the Republican candidate, on his Facebook page, he states that he thinks Vermont is on a journey to perdition, and he has some preconceived notions referring to some locals as granola crunchers, and making references to a whole state going to hell and making judgments because someone chooses to eat oats, berries, and seeds indicate a bigotry very inappropriate for the office of Secretary of State. I will be coming to this position alone, looking to get work done with the legislators and the governor and others, work that the office is meant to do, like ensure confidence in the voting process and help citizens to obtain professional services without concern. So that's what I think sets me apart.
All right, thank you. So if you're elected Secretary of State, what would be your top 2 priorities?
You say 2. I have to mention that I have 3, but I will tell you, and I'll just quickly say what they are, and then I will say which 2 I choose as the top and why. My campaign had 3. One was that when you vote, I would like to provide a format that uses a private ID number for each individual that allows them to actually confirm that their vote was cast and recorded as they'd intended. The second initiative is establishing a place on our website where consumers can write publicly viewable reviews of professional service provision. After all of this time with the internet, there has not yet been a permanent established place where customers can go to view trusted reviews of professional service providers. This is probably a great indication that it's something that needs to be a function of the public sector. And the third initiative would be to anonymize and publicly post formal complaints made by consumers, even if the complaint is denied. So of these 3, I would say that vote confirmation and publicly available anonymization of complaints would be the top 2 priorities. I would prioritize anonymization of complaints over publicly available professional reviews, because it could be done as you go, as cases are being reviewed, they could be anonymized. Professional reviews will involve some initial setup and adjustment. So that's
right. Well, now I recognize that the Secretary of State's office is not a legislative office and is more of an administrative office, but I just want to ask you a issue question, just to get your opinion about what do you think could be done to ensure that more Vermont families with young children can find and afford childcare?
Actually, I was recently sent a questionnaire to fill out by a nonprofit called Let's Grow Kids. And I was amazed at the huge amount of work that this organization is doing statewide to maximize the early development of every Vermont child. It's a huge movement facilitated largely by this organization that I didn't know a thing about beforehand. And it's a very encouraging example of grassroots activism. They're wholeheartedly addressing every angle of the affordable childcare problem, from working with legislators on policy initiatives, working on bettering childcare capacity by supporting programs to open and expand, working to understand and lessen both employee and employer limitations, and really building a movement to lead to improved health as a result of early childhood education for every Vermont child. And their goal to engage the whole state uh, I think they're well on their way. I think that the strongest thing I could do would be to direct others to this organization.
Thank you. So now I want to ask you about the other end of the age spectrum.
Yeah.
Recent reports indicate that seniors in Vermont face one of the highest rates of financial insecurity in the nation. How do you think we can make life for seniors more affordable in Vermont?
Well, many seniors are dependent on pharmaceuticals, and often being able to purchase pharmaceuticals means going without healthy food options. Many seniors are living on fixed incomes and extremely modest fixed incomes at that. And then the price of every single thing goes up, even water, even electricity, even the loaves of bread get smaller. I try to think of answers that do not say the government needs to fund this more, because it does seem that is coming from every direction. But that said, I think that a healthy society cherishes their aged population and keeps them as close as possible for as long as possible. And this is a sector of society that is deserving of governmental attention and support. It may require legislation that controls what seniors can be charged for things like pharmaceuticals, water, electricity, and bread, as examples. Their incomes may have to be supplemented as well. And then maybe they could afford more fruits and vegetables.
Hey, thank you. We're right now in the midst of COVID, and but I am confident, and I hope you are as well, that we're going to emerge from this. So, what is your vision for Vermont in a post-COVID world?
My vision for a post-COVID world is one in which environmentalism can again be a growing movement. It's one in which group and free cooperative participation can again yield exponential results. It's one where sustainable business practices can easily lead to business success. It's one where individuals can see cause and effect that determine the atmosphere within which they live. It's one where the pre-COVID systems and foundations that were built or in the process of being built by compassionate humans can again be put into motion. It's one where children and young adults can amass as much knowledge and opportunity from as many others as they can, which is their right as a result of being born in the 21st century. And it's definitely one where patients have more control over diagnostics that determine their outcomes, whether it be by way of additional alternative markets, emerging technologies, or some governmental role. And it is one where the aged and differently abled are well immersed in communities that can gain insight from them and that can help to keep their bodies as healthy as possible. That's my vision for post-COVID world.
Well, thank you. All right, last question. What do you want voters to know about you?
Mostly, I would say that I want voters to know that I would be honored to serve as Vermont's next Secretary of State. I have worked at UVM's main library for 22 years. Excuse me. I took advantage of UVM's tuition remission benefit continually until 2016, gaining a master's degree in public administration, followed by many other courses. In these courses, I earned instruction and training from some of the brightest minds around, and the library provided me with a huge selection of resources to facilitate this instruction and training. Before working in tech support, I worked with current scholarship in all fields in the form of current periodicals. I absolutely loved this time of my life for this reason, and I believe that the tidbits of insight I got from perusing the most current research every day led me to have a very broad outlook. I might have a little sip of this. I grew up in Richford and St. Albans and moved back to St. Albans after living in Burlington for 13 years and have lived here since 2002. Vermont is my home and has been for as long as I can remember. I love Vermont's healthy environment and how we have taken real good care of our state up until now. And I love that Vermonters are honest and hardworking people who work together to meet their goals. So those are the main things. Should I share my web address?
I'll take care of that.
Okay.
I'm going to take care of that for you right now.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to say, Pamela Smith, an independent candidate for Vermont Secretary of State. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me and for asking me those great questions.
Good. Well, you can learn more by visiting the campaign's website, www.whatsthenarrative.com. That's www.whatsthenarrative.com. The general election is Tuesday, November 3rd. Remember, you can vote early in person, vote absentee by mail, or vote absentee hand-delivered on Election Day. Whichever way works for you, please vote. Thanks for watching BCTV's Meet the Candidates 2020, sponsored in part by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. I'm Marty Cohn. Stay healthy.